Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Killjoy and welcome to Opinion Machine, a show where we sit down and chat about opinions on things. On my own again as always with this one, but today I want to talk about the Wii U, and with Nintendo recently announcing that it's going to be coming to an end of production, I want to kind of reflect back on why I really enjoy the console and why I actually think it's probably one of my favourite consoles ever made. To start with, the Wii U has had a terrible lifetime, really, when it comes down to it. The sales, not great. Third-party support, also not great. But all in all, I actually really like the console. I really enjoy the games that I have for it, and quite frankly, I just enjoy the gamepad and some of the new ways to play it offered. So I bought one of these back when it first came out, which, to be fair, buying a console on launch, never the smartest idea, and that goes for all consoles by all companies. There aren't many consoles that have ever had good launches, and what I mean by that is usually the amount of games that are out is pretty lackluster. They're not the greatest games, it takes a while. Usually within a year of a console coming out, that's when it starts to build up, that's when the good games start to come out. And I got my console, I bought it day one, and I got Nintendo Land with it, but I also bought Sonic All-Stars Racing, because that was like, you know, the game I wanted at the time. And I had a great time with those games. I loved the games, I loved playing on the console, I loved everything about it. I liked the gamepad especially, and the experience I had with that. But over time, you could tell that things weren't going well. The console wasn't marketed very well. People were confused if it was an upgrade to the Wii, if it was an add-on, things like that. The third-party support quickly evaporated, lots of games got delayed, all sorts of things happened. But as time went on, we started to get some really solid games from Nintendo and some decent ones from third parties. Yes, there were some ports as well, but for the most part, really good. So I actually compiled a list, not a complete list, but of games that I think are must-haves for a system like this, but also really good games. Some of these are ports, most of these are originals, I think. So obviously one of my favourite games of all time, Smash 4, massive thing for the Wii U, really good game. Then you had things like Mario Kart 8, the Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, Yoshi's Woolly World, Hyrule Warriors, Splatoon, Nintendo's big new IP that came out on the console, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, Darksiders 2, Watch Dogs, I mean, debatable, some people didn't like that game, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, Bayonetta 1 and 2, Super Mario Bros. 3D World, Super Mario Bros. Wii U, Rayman Legends, fantastic game, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, another fantastic game, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Wii U Edition, Super Mario Maker, fantastic game, the Assassin's Creed games 3 and 4 are on there, Batman Arkham City Armored Edition came out, you had Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, you had Injustice Gods Among Us, Lego City Undercover, Monster Hunter Free Try, Need for Speed Most Wanted U Edition, Nintendo Land, Paper Mario Color Splash, Pokken Tournament, Scribblenauts Unlimited, Sonic Lost World, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Splinter Cell Blacklist, Wonderful 101, and Pikmin 3. And now that's not a complete list of everything that came out, but that is just a list I compiled, the things that I could think of, things that I own that I would consider very good games, a very strong lineup for a console like this. Now, maybe that's like 30-something games, which over, I think it's about 5-year lifespan, is pretty lackluster when you really think about it. But when I sit down and I look at that list and some of the other games that I haven't added on there, like the ports, the upgraded ports or HD makes of Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess and a few other games that have come out, there's actually a lot of good games on this console. Like a lot, like solidly a lot. And to this day, I still think it has a better lineup than an Xbox One and a PS4. Then that's a personal preference, understandable. There's a lot of games out there that people like on the Xbox One and the PS4, but I'm kind of sick of realistic games and that going down that trend. It's just not for me. Like, I like games to be fun and just silly and, you know, not trying to be super hardcore and realistic. Now, obviously other people enjoy that, but for me personally, it's like, I want my games just to be just fun and good local multiplayer experiences. And that's the one thing Nintendo always gets right over the other two. It's hard to play local multiplayer on the other systems. I mean, there are games that do it, But the great thing about the Wii U is there are a lot of games on there that let you do it, and you know they're about 5-player, 5-player, some games more than that. The fact that I can play things like Smash, Mario Kart, 4-player, all this, and still have that fun experience I had growing up with other games, or other games in the series of those ones. The Wii U gamepad itself, that controller, is probably one of my favourite ones of all time ever made. I don't care what anyone says, it might look bulky, it's incredibly comfortable, the buttons are nice on it, it feels good to hold in my hand, the extra screen adds huge, differences for gameplay and makes these really cool things. Splinter Cell, fantastic version of it. One of my favourite games on the console. Lets you switch weapons effortlessly, you can do all sorts of things with it, you can fly the drone with it. These really cool effects that you could do with it. And things like Nintendo Land, which allowed these 5-player asymmetric games. Shame more of this stuff didn't come out, but like, fantastic way of game. Like there's 2 games on there, Chase Me and the Luigi's Mansion one where you play as a ghost. Fantastic games, fantastic ideas, and well used and well designed for it. So, well, for me, those things make this console fantastically fun, enjoyable. Whereas when I think about games on the other systems, like, it's not that I don't like the other systems. It's like on the Xbox One, the only game I really want to play is Killer Instinct. I love that game growing up. I can't play it at the moment. Well, if I had Windows 10 I could, or if I don't have an Xbox One, so I can't play that game. Most of the other stuff that's come out, it's like, I don't care about Halo, I don't really care about Gears of War. You know, you've got Call of Duty, all these other things. It's all super realistic. That's kind of what they've gone for. There are some games on there that aren't, but it just doesn't interest me that much. Same with the PlayStation 4. It's like a lot of the exclusives on both consoles are just not that interesting to me. Whereas Smash 4, Mario Kart, Hyrule Warriors, a lot of these other games that are on there, like these exclusives that Nintendo bring, it's like these are fun games that I want to play, and that's fine. Like, that's my preferences of those games. It's not to say I don't like the others, but I prefer these type of games. And I think the Wii U, like a lot of the games, Mario Kart and Smash look fantastic graphically. No matter what people say, oh, it doesn't have power on this, it's like those games look good. And they run well, which is more than I can say for some of the other games on the other systems. But not only do you have these solid box release games, there are loads and loads and loads of good eShop games and indie games on there. Sure, a lot of them are probably on the other consoles as well and on the PC, but if someone bought you a Wii U now at a decent price and bought you most of the games I said already, and then you had even more decent games, smaller bite-sized games on the eShop, you're pretty much set then. With all these new consoles coming out, it's actually good to look back. Now that the end of a lifespan's come up, this goes for any console. Because the games are cheaper now and you can get them second hand and the consoles are cheaper, you've got this huge library to play through, which is exactly what you want. Let's look at why I think the Wii U eShop games are great. You've got Shovel Knight, probably one of the biggest indie games in the last few years. Works fantastic on that console, brilliant game. You've got Minecraft, obviously bigger on the PC and it's come late to the party, but huge for young children who like creating things. You've got Binding of Isaac Rebirth, another huge indie game. Zen Pinball 2, one of my personal favourites, fantastic game. You've then got Typo Men, smaller little game but cleverly made. Trying 2 Enhanced Edition, Thomas Was Alone, Swords and Soldiers 1 and 2, The Swapper, Super Meat Boy, Stealth Inc. 2, Fast Racing Neo, and Runbow. All of these games are fantastic. So, this is why I like the Wii U a lot. I have such a huge variety of games, regardless of what people say. They go, oh, there's not many good games on it. There's rubbish. There's loads of good games on this console. And now is the best time to get hold of one of these. Especially with Black Friday coming up. If you can get hold of a Wii U, and you can get any of these games and any of that stuff online, you're laughing. With the Nintendo Switch in the horizon, everything's going to drop in price for the Wii U. With hopefully, it will be £200, probably lower than that, if cheaper if it's second hand. But you can't go wrong with a good lineup like that. Same with when the PS4 and the Xbox One came out. That was a perfect time to buy an Xbox 360 and a PS3. Those consoles have good lineups, and that's the wonderful thing about the Wii U. I hope that people do go out and buy these now that they will be cheaper and now that production's ending, to be able to play most of these games. Sure, some of this stuff will probably come to the Nintendo Switch, but it'll be full price. It won't be as cheap as this, and you've got this great console, which really was, Nintendo's fault completely. Poor marketing, not getting third parties on board, came out at a bit of a weird time, but it's still a good console, and in my opinion it's still the best out of the sort of generation that is now. I think it does more creative things, I think the games run better. It's just such a shame that it didn't do better than it actually did. You know, it's got an install base of about 8 million, which is tiny compared to most other consoles. I mean, 8 million is a lot of people, but in console terms, very tiny. When you look at like the Wii that had like 120 million or something, it was a huge number. PS2 had like 140 million. And it's just a shame that it didn't do better with the quality of the games. You know, like I said, mostly Nintendo's fault and third-party companies backing out and whatnot, but hell, if I had to buy one now, look at the games that I've got, all that choice. Not to mention that Nintendo also brought out Amiibo this year. Now, these can be quite controversial, but it was a good idea at its core, bringing out these little toys of like Nintendo characters. I've got most of the Smash ones. Actually, that's a lie, I've got all of the Smash ones. Fun little idea. Great little toys for people to collect, or whether you want to use them in game. They were actually usable, which was cool. And that was a good add-on, a little extra add-on content for all these games, you know. Fantastic thing. You don't have to buy them, completely optional, but they are good. And one of my favourite things about the console is just the controllers. You've got all the Wii U controllers you can use all the Wii stuff, so you didn't have to buy new ones, which meant a lot of the games that were higher in number, you could play them. You had controllers. You've got Wii remotes and nunchucks, classic controllers, you've got the Pro controller, you've got the gamepad obviously, plenty of ways to play. And that's what makes this, for me, like one of the best consoles to play local multiplayer. All in all, I think the console is fantastic. I think, sure, it's got its problems. It's not perfect, but if someone said to me, it's like, do you want this ultra powerful console, or do you want this console that's got lots of local multiplayer games and just good solid titles on it, then I'd take the titles over the power any day. Again, personal preference, but I get the chance to play things like Smash, Mario Kart, Mario, you know, Splatoon. What a great IP that was to come out. Fantastic new game. You know, it's a primarily online shooter, but done up in such a Nintendo way, which is why it's so good. And hopefully, this is a game that might take off when it comes out on the Switch, if the Switch does well. But even the third-party support that is there, Rayman, and you know, you've also got Splinter Cell, and then the Sonic games. You know, there was support from there. Okay, Activision and EA didn't have the best. You know, there are Call of Duties on this, but they weren't the great versions of them. So there are more games there than people think. I think that, all in all, if you've got 30 good games on a console, you know, if you're chopping and changing titles all the time like a lot of people do, then really if you've got those 30 games or the few extras that there are, then you're laughing, you've got an incredibly good lineup. And it's cheap at the moment. You're looking at these games being £15 and less for the most part. Obviously Smash, Mario Kart, some of the first party Nintendo stuff is going to be more expensive and still hold its price, but you can get hold of a lot of this stuff dirt cheap. So you're laughing really. For me personally, the Wii U is a big step in my, you know, in my enjoyment of consoles. I don't like the idea that consoles are quite expensive nowadays. I mean, they've always kind of been expensive. £300 is my limit on what I would want to buy. And, you know, I've enjoyed the fun that I've got on my Wii U, and I would plan to get just as much enjoyment from it still. Like Smash 4, I racked up over 200 hours in. Like, that just goes to show how good that game is. And for me, there's something for everyone on this list. Hopefully, with the Switch, Nintendo will have more third-party support as well as their support and a good launch, meaning that console should do better, and it should be better than the Wii U. But as of right now, the Wii U is a good console, and if you haven't played on one or you haven't owned one, like, now's a great time to jump on board. Like, everything is just so, like, fun about it. But at its core, it's a good, solid game machine. And quite frankly, I'm going to be kind of sad to see this, you know, go because of this new experience that it offered. A lot of these games that had the gamepad support in them used it well. Yeah, mostly it was inventory screens or map screens. But that was good. It worked well. It meant that you could use the buttons for everything else. You didn't have to stop the gameplay. You could do it while you're on the move. Little things like that actually made the game incredibly enjoyable. Just be able to, like, tap on things while you're doing it. This is just my thoughts on this console. I'm obviously, I enjoy Nintendo. I like all consoles and things. I like PC gaming, but Nintendo is what I grew up with, and I do generally love the Wii U as well as a lot of their older stuff. I'm excited for the Switch, but I want people just to think, you know, if you've not played some of these games, get a chance to play them. Find someone who has one of these consoles, borrow it, play these games, because it's a shame that most of them didn't do as well as they could have done, because they are good. And with any luck, this stuff will carry on with the next generation of consoles, and we'll get more things like that. Hopefully it'll be as good. And if you love indie games, there's plenty of those good ones on there as well. So that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of like a little reminisce, me gushing over how much I like the Wii U. But until next time, I'll see you then.